Hi friends, Mindy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am working in this Illuminated Scripture Journal from Crossway. I love these journals because they have a blank page, every other page, kind of like an interleaved Bible. And so I'm jumping right in here with some collage medium. This is the Tim Holtz version and an old page from a hymnal. I had a comment recently asking for more ideas about how to use vintage papers in Bible journaling, and this is one of the ways that I do it. So this is from an old hymnal, and I am using that collage medium underneath to kind of glue everything down, and then I'm going to put another layer of this over the top, and just making sure to try to get the best seal on this as I can. I really want to create a non-porous surface here. And then I did trim this down just a little bit, hit it with my heat tool as well. And then there were a couple little places here where it just wasn't sealed down as well as I would like. And so I did add a little bit of Barely Arts glue on here. I will say the Tim Holtz collage medium, while I do have it, is really just not my favorite. I prefer matte medium or gel medium, but I have it, and so I'm trying to use it up. But I want to create this non-porous surface for this technique that I love to do. It's one of my favorite things to do with Neocolor 2s. These are the water-soluble version. And I'm coming in with these crayons, and I'm just adding some pigment, just scribbly little bits around here. And I have some white gesso off to the side. You can see it there. And I am going to pull in a paintbrush, and I'm just going to go into the gesso and activate the pigment that I put down. Now, you can do this with water, certainly, but you can also do it with gesso. And I really love doing it with gesso because it makes it a little bit more opaque. It also lightens the pigment, which is great for the background. It lightens the shade. And then I can keep adding layers to this. So you'll see me going back and forth between the crayons and adding a little bit more gesso. And you just get this really nice blend of color, and you can kind of blend right into each of the colors. You're going to see me in here in a minute actually switch to using my fingers because that's really my preferred method whenever I'm doing mixed media. For some reason, I really like doing this with my fingers. I feel like I have better control. I'm not getting the same brush strokes, and I can really get that kind of misty, hazy background that I want. And you'll see I'm just kind of going on and adding the layers until I get them like I want. I want there to be areas where this is more opaque. So you could certainly add more color, more gesso to your liking. So I'm just going to kind of work this, and I'll add some purple in here as well. But I just wanted to take a quick second and say that because I had this question about the vintage paper for Bible journaling, let me know in the comments if it is a video that would be helpful to you to see other ways that you could use vintage paper. But also, if you would like to see me maybe put together a pack of vintage papers that are like perfect for Bible journaling, like, religious themed papers, whether that's, hymnal pages, concordance pages. I have even some biblical maps and those kinds of things. Let me know if a paper pack like that would be something that you would be interested in, and I will work on putting that together as well. The links for all of my things are going to be in the description as well. So you can see I'm just going in again with my fingers and my gesso and just getting that to where I like it. Made sure to dry that really, really well. Came in with that Neocolor over on the left side to highlight the verse. Hebrews 13:5 in ESV says, "Keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you." So we can confidently say, "The Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?" So that's verse 5 and 6. On camera really quick, I'm using the cheesecloth background clear stamp from Creative Worship Stamps. I love this background stamp. And I stamped that with hickory smoke, just really in a couple of different places just to add another little texture in the background, but I wanted it to stay in the background, which is why I used hickory smoke. And now I'm coming in with Versa Claire in the black. Let's see what the actual color is. It's Nocturne. This is my first time using this particular stamp. I have VersaFine, just the regular VersaFine, but this is the first time I've used VersaFine Claire, and I actually really like how it turned out. I did not, however, get a perfect stamping, so I'm coming in just with a pen and adding in a couple of the lines that I missed. This is just you know, more, I think, to do with the texture of the background that I'm working on. And then I made sure to dry that really, really well with my heat gun, because it does take a little bit of time because I am working on a layer of, you know, gesso and matte medium and everything. So I wanted to make sure to make that was really dry before I come to this next step, which is to add those neo colors now back in to color my butterfly. So I'm using the same colors that I used in the background, but they're going to be more intense because they're not mixed with the white gesso. And I wanted them to stand out, but not be completely another color, if that makes sense. So I'm just going in here with some purple, and then I'll go in again with the light blue. I also want to read this version in the King James. That's my preferred method for study. And I like how it says these two verses. So it says, "Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he has said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me." So again, you can see me just going in, activating all of that color with my water brush. And I'm going to just kind of work color by color all the way through. I'm not going to make you watch me color this entire butterfly. It actually doesn't take very long. These Neo Color 2s are very forgiving, and so you can add layers, intensify them, add shading, do all the things. I kept my coloring of this pretty simple. And then I decided I wanted to make sure again and dry this between basically every step, every layer. I'm drying this really, really well. And then I pulled in my pencil so that I could write my title for this page, which is, I want to write out, "I will never leave you." And I know better than to do this with this kind of pencil, because it does end up leaving the marks. And then in the end, I end up not even using the pencil lines that I wrote. I do this to myself all the time. I don't know why, but so I'm just coming in with a Posca. This is like the fine nib one, and just writing this out. I started from the bottom, working my way up, so I make sure I have enough space to get everything in there. And then I will actually come back through with another Posca pen that's in the 3M nib. I love Posca paint pens personally, and so I have them in multiple nibs because they are my favorite paint marker. And so I'm just coming in here and just kind of adding a little bit of weight to those downstrokes. Helps it look more kind of like faux calligraphy instead of just, you know, my handwriting, which is fine too. But I wanted to do that to also really just helps have a nice bold title, you know, bold sentiment or whatever for this page. Going in here, trying to erase this as best as I can. So I had to pull in a couple different erasers to do that. And now I want to add some little white splatters. And don't worry, I'm not painting this right onto my butterfly. He's on the underneath side. I use my acrylic blocks all the time as paint palettes. For watercolor, acrylic paint, it doesn't really matter because I can wipe it right off. And my preferred method for splatter is actually with a fan brush. So this is actually some gesso that I have already watered down. I keep it in a bottle, and then I can just add it right really quickly with my fan brush. Like I said, it's just my preferred method. And then I felt like my page was still needing something, so I added a border, and that helped some. I just did a sketchy border again with my Posca paint pen, added some little dashes and dots and things just to make it look really, you know, hand-drawn and sketchy. And then I felt like my butterfly needed just a little bit more attention, so I'm coming in with my Stabilo All Pencil to create kind of a shadow around my butterfly and just give it a little bit more depth. I'm adding the pigment like right next to the stamping, and then I'm using my water brush to activate that pigment, and then it just kind of fades out. So it's really dark next to the stamping and then kind of fades to gray the further out from the stamped image that we go. And I really just like this. It's a good way to add like a shadow and just add some dimension to your page really quickly and really easily. And then I'm going to come back in with that same Stabilo pencil, and I'm just going to come right off the pencil with my water brush, and I will add a few little splatters of this black around just to kind of pull everything together. So if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.